So I always joke with everyone, tell them they're all a pain in the neck, and they're not. They just have a pain in their neck. But so here's just our agenda for tonight. We're going to just talk about some statistics in regard to neck pain. We'll briefly discuss the anatomy of the neck and the spine, and then we'll talk about the top 3 neck problems that we see in the clinic. How do we treat them? And then we'll spend a lot of time talking about posture. We in the clinic, when we talk about neck pain, we talk a lot about posture because we believe it's a really important piece to success in relieving neck pain. We'll talk about breathing and pain issues, and then we'll talk a little about fitness, and then finally we'll just wrap up with, is physical therapy something that will be good for you to try? So my goals for you all for tonight is, one, just to be more educated about the neck and that pain is normal, and it's all about how do we manage pain. I don't feel you need to live with severe pain. That's very important. If you're in severe pain right now, it just means you got to speak with someone that can help you get out of a severe pain, because I don't think you need to be in severe pain. I am a fan of talking to someone who knows what they're talking about. So you have to be careful of the internet. You have to be careful about infomercials and all those things. So as I mentioned, I've been working in physical therapy for a long time. We deal with neck pain on a daily basis with something we see all the time. So between your physician and a physical therapist, or chiropractor, massage therapists, acupuncturists, those are all good quality people that are around that can help you get rid of your neck issues. And then it's really important for me that you leave here tonight with some things to do. And we'll talk about some easy exercises you can start with tomorrow or on Monday. Allie will send you all the presentation as well as the 4 exercises we'll talk about tonight. So you'll have those and you can pretty much start doing them every day. And we'll also have some information about our screens and how we deal with medical insurance too as well. So as you can see, neck pain, top 5 disorders in the US, anywhere from 10 to 20% of people reporting some form of neck pain. 54% of individuals have experienced neck pain within the past 6 months. And then, unfortunately, as we all know, the prevalence of neck pain gets worse as we age. So that's super common. And a lot of people, you can see 37% of individuals who have experienced neck pain will report having problems for at least 12 months. That's a long time, in my opinion, and I hate to see people in pain for that long. So here is a picture of our spine, and you can see the top is the area that we're focusing on today. That's the cervical region. But you can see there's 3 other regions: thoracic, lumbar, and sacral regions. When we treat neck, we do a lot of work in the cervical region, but we also do a lot of work in the thoracic area as well. And so, I talk about, when I talk to patients about the neck, we describe the neck, it's like the first floor. The first floor to keep your head, or the second floor, in a nice stable foundation. And then, our thoracic spine is pretty much the foundation. It's the basement, it's the basement for the neck. So you can see in the picture of the woman on the left of the screen, if her posture is too far forward, it's like a house built in sand. It's just going to shift. The foundation won't be stable. Eventually, it's going to erode. The foundation will crack and break. And so we've got to really try to restore as much normal posture as we can. So one of the more popular problems that we see in the clinic is the spondylosis. That's a fancy term for spine arthritis. Now, what you can see in the picture is some varying levels of problems with the spine. So the top segment is a normal disc. So you can see what we're looking at here is a side view of our vertebrae. And so the brown material is the actual bone. And in between the brown material, which is kind of like a purplish color, that's the disc. And so the first segment shows a normal disc, which is what we generally see in people that are less than 50. The levels of degenerative disc to bulging disc to a herniated disc to a thinning disc and some disc degeneration with osteophyte formation, those are all the things we see as we get older. So those are some kind of negative effects of gravity. You know, we constantly fight gravity all the time. And so gravity, as well as poor postures and some weakness problems, can lead to these problems where you can see down the bottom where things are kind of jagged and not smooth. It's significantly different than what it looks like at the top. The top is nice and flat and level. It's smooth. But as we age, our health generally starts to decline, and our spine health can also decline too as well. So the treatment that we do when we work with these spondylosis problems, we talk a ton about posture. We get people to work on trying to just change their posture. We do a lot of work to try and reduce muscle tension. And we do a lot of work with our own hands, working on pain management. You'll see the picture on the top. The therapist has what looks like maybe a butter knife in their hand, but it's actually a massage tool that we use in our office that really helps to loosen up some of the tissue to get rid of some of this tightness in the neck. And the therapist is working through the trap area, the upper trap, and that is the primary area for people to mostly experience pain in their neck. Is through that trap area because it's really gets tight and stiff. So we do a lot of work to help loosen that area up. We'll do some strength training. You can see the woman's got the bands and she's pulling with the bands. We do a lot of work with strength training. We try to get people out and doing some walking to improve their aerobic conditioning. And then we help them build a home program that they can do on their own. So I tried to make these workshops interactive. If you've ever been to one in the clinic, they're much more interactive. The Zoom ones aren't as interactive, but what we're going to do, our first exercise is actually a perfect and great posture exercise. So what I'm going to ask everyone to do is just kind of sit forward in their chair a little bit and just to start working on trying to pull your shoulder blades back together. And so what we want to do is we should feel those muscles kind of in the back around the shoulder blade area kind of come together. And we should feel that we might feel a stretch kind of here through the front of the chest. We might feel a stretch through the front of the neck, but we want to really feel those shoulder blades kind of pull back together. Now, sometimes if I turn to the side, and what will happen many times is we tend to pull our shoulders back, but if our head is still really forward, it's really working against what we're trying to do. So we want to not only pull our shoulders back, but we want to make sure our head stays in line with our shoulders. So everyone just take a couple minutes and we're just going to pull those shoulders back and then just let them relax. So it's about like a count of 5 or so. It's just pulling back, count to 5, and then let it relax. This will be one of our exercises on the worksheet for you guys to do work on at home. And now what I want everyone to do is to shrug their shoulders up this way. And so when we bring our shoulders up like this or a shrug, we tend to initiate a lot of activity through that trap muscle that's on the top of our shoulder. So we really don't want to shrug a lot because right now we spend a lot of time shrugging. Any of you are hand talkers, people that hand talk, we end up getting our shoulders up by our ears, and that's a bad position for our shoulders. So we always want to make sure as we pull back, we're not pulling up too as well. So it always just should be pulling back. All right. So that's our first exercise. Is we call that scapular retractions, the fancy term for just pinching our shoulder blades back. Now, the second problem we see a lot is what we call cervical radiculitis, and this is a nerve problem. So you can see in the top picture, there's a body, and it's in different colors. And you can see each one of those colors has a C and then a number. And those equate to different levels in the cervical spine, and nerves exit out of the cervical spine and go to a specific area. And so someone that comes into our office and complains of a lot of neck pain and maybe some tingling and numbness in their thumb and their finger, we know that they're probably having some problems at that C6 level, or the 6th cervical level. And so what we're doing is realizing that maybe it's not coming from a muscle, but it's probably coming from some compression on the nerve as it exits out of the spine. So that person's going to have some arm pain, some tingling, some numbness. It's usually specific. They come in and go, oh, my finger and my thumb, or my middle finger, or my pinky finger, or my forearm. Very, very specific to an area. They can't sleep well because any position that they get in is uncomfortable. And then they generally have a lot of poor posture. They're sitting a lot with their work. And so they're in this kind of slouched forward head, just really poor postures. So again, just like before, we'll do a lot of pain management work. We do a lot of work with our hands through massage and stretching. We will do a lot of work with traction, because sometimes when we can distract the neck, take pressure off those nerves, the person's symptoms reduce. So in the top picture, it shows the therapist doing some traction with their hands. The bottom picture shows the patient in a traction machine like we have in our office. So it's just a passive way to stretch the neck over about a 15-minute period that really just allows the neck to feel better and have less strain and less irritation in the spine. So our second exercise already, and it's a chin tuck. And so what we're going to do with the chin tuck is we're going to sit with our shoulders down. We're not shrugging our shoulders stay down. And we're going to just try to gently tuck our chin in towards our chest. So if I turn and you see me from the side, I should look like I'm making almost a double chin with my chin, tucking it back and then relax. So it's a tuck back and relax. So we can incorporate the shoulder pinch with that chin tuck at the same time if we want to. They both go very well together. Pull the shoulder blades back, tuck the chin in. Okay? Yeah.
One of our friends here can't hear us, and I put them in the waiting room and admitted them back in, and they still can't hear us.
Okay.
Have any suggestions?
I think if everyone shakes their head up and down, they can hear me. Okay.
Okay.
So it might be something on their end. And you know, like we talked about, unfortunately you can maybe send them a message, Allie, that we can always send them the recording
Okay.
after the fact.
All right, you got it. Thank you.
Sure. So I'm actually going to unshare my screen. And what I want to do is to show you those exercises. Okay. So I'm going to turn up my volume so you can kind of just see this person. We just did it, but let's talk about that shoulder.
Begin sitting in an upright position. Gently squeeze your shoulder blades together. Relax and then repeat. Make sure to maintain good posture during the exercise.
So you can see how she's just pulling those shoulder blades back. This is actually from our home exercise program that we use with our patients, and we'll send you that sheet tomorrow.
Begin sitting in an upright position with your feet flat on the floor. Gently draw your chin in while keeping your eyes fixed on something in front of you. Make sure that you do not look down as you do this exercise or bend your neck forward.
So you can see how he's just tucking that chin back in. Actually, that was a very good chin tuck. So, so again, you know, try to incorporate both of those two exercises at the same time. That's always a good thing to try. Now, our third and probably one we see the most is, you know, how we describe it as just muscular neck pain. This is anyone over the age of 25, but you know, nowadays with texting and book bags being so heavy with kids, we're seeing more and more kids come and have complaints of neck pain. People are sitting all day. They just have generally stiff and sore and achy necks. They probably have some pain through their shoulder blade area. They're on the computer a lot. And then again, as I mentioned, students, we see a lot of them with texting and heavy backpacks. So if you see The upper picture, we're looking at the person's back. That trapezius muscle is that upper trapezius muscle we talked about. And then there's some other posture muscles along either side. The picture down below just shows the muscles that are in the front. So you can see there's quite a few muscles in the front of the neck that make up the function of the neck. So with people that are having issues like this, we're doing a lot of pain management. We're doing a lot of breathing. We're trying to do a lot of postural corrective exercises, as well as helping people get strong. We do a lot of work with our hands, like you can see the two pictures, but then we also get people on exercise balls and use resistance bands and things like that. You know, we're not going to spend too much time talking about strengthening because it's a little bit beyond the scope of this presentation, but a lot of people, it's amazing how weak they get through their shoulders and their upper back and their neck area. And doing some basic and easy strengthening exercises, it's amazing how well they can reduce their pain. So let's going to show you two more, our last two exercises. And the first one is just churning with some overpressure. So, you know, we're going to focus, you'll see as the woman moves, she has her shoulders back, her chin is tucked. She's just going to stretch her head to the side and give it a little bit of some pressure with her hand. So you'll see her move here.
Begin in a standing upright position. Turn your head to look over your shoulder and gently push your chin with your hand. Hold briefly, then return to the starting position and repeat. Make sure to keep your back straight and do not bend your head forward, backward, or sideways.
This is, so yeah, everyone try that. Just take a minute, and I want everyone to kind of just turn their head, give it a little bit of overpressure. Now, watch me for a minute. Sometimes what will happen is we go to turn our head and our whole body turns. And we don't want that. We want to keep our body still and just allow the head to turn only. And you might get to a point with all of these exercises where you may find a lot of restriction. So we really don't want to push through. We don't want to make pain worse. We want to move the area to the point of having some discomfort, but not so much that it becomes really painful. So just be careful with that. We really don't want to push really super hard, but we do have to try and get it to stretch. So here's our last one. So we've been talking a little bit about that upper trapezius muscle on the side of the neck here, and that's what this stretch is here. So let's take a listen and watch.
Begin sitting in an upright position. Use one hand to tilt your head sideways, pulling your ear toward one shoulder until you feel a stretch in the opposite side of your neck, and hold. Make sure to keep your back straight and do not let your head rotate or bend forward or backward.
So if you see from that picture how he can keep his arm, his opposite side arm is kind of like held down by the chair. And again, like I said before, sometimes people go to stretch and they move their whole body, right? And we're really not interested in that. We just want to keep our body still and just only bend the neck to the side. That's really what we're trying to focus on, is just getting that neck to go from side to side. So try that. Let's just take a minute and just grab the side of your head, give a gentle pull down so your ear comes to your shoulder, and then go to the other side. And I think a count of 10 is good. That's a good amount of time to get that to move well. You know, those of you that are sitting at a desk, you know, these are things that can easily be done throughout your day. You know, you send off an email and you take a minute from that email and just go ahead and try to just keep stretching as much as you possibly can. So we've mentioned posture before, how important that is to us in the clinic, and we're going to keep talking about that. We'll talk for some of you that are on the call that are on the computer a lot, either at work or at home. We have some good solutions to that, as well as for people that are working, some great ergonomic tips to try and just change your posture. So everyone has a mobile phone, right? Everyone's on their cell phone. And you can see from this, I saw this as I was working on the presentation. I went, oh, I've got to put this graph in, this picture in, because it just shows you how when the head is stable and pretty level, there's very little force going on the neck. But as the inclination of the head starting to move forward towards the floor, you can see the amount of weight that is going through the neck as we get more inclination. It's pretty significant. So if you're constantly in that 60-degree inclined position forward, it's putting 60 pounds of stress on your neck, and that's a lot. So we've just got to be careful with how much time are we spending kind of in that position where we're like this, really lean forward, and make sure our shoulders are back. We're keeping the phone kind of up at our eye level this way versus trying to look down like this. And you can see I've got cheaters that I wear. So sometimes people will, they'll end up doing this, or they've got to hold their phone out there if they don't have their glasses. So, eyewear is a very, very important part of this, because if you can't see it well, it's just going to add some additional stress to your neck.
Kevin,
So,
do you think that you're on your presentation right now?
do what's that? Am I?
Are you
Yeah.
on I can't see your presentation. We're still on exercises.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Perfect.
Is that better?
Better.
So here's that picture I was just chatting about. So you can see when we're texting how we're completely inclined if we're going too far forward. And you can see the amount of pounds of force that are going on the neck the more that we incline forward with our head. So obviously in that 0-degree tilt or the 15-degree tilt is where we really want to try and stay the most. 30 degrees or more is really a poor position for our neck. So here is just some more pictures of what good and bad posture look like. And, for those of you that know what a plumb line is, we talk about that in the clinic all the time. So for those of you that don't know what a plumb line is, it's what a contractor would use to make sure the wall is level. So they would, attach something to the ceiling. That line down the bottom has a little weight, and that is the true position of what is straight up and down. And so if someone were to stand near that line, and the good posture, what we're hoping to see is that there's equal parts on the left side of the line, equal parts on the right side of the line, and as well as equal parts on the front part of the line as well as the back if we're looking at them from the side. And so the person in the poor posture section, you can see that the left person has a scoliosis. So there's a lateral curve in their spine, which doesn't quite allow them to be straight. And then the person next to them has a really significantly forward head and rounded shoulders, which again, just forces them forward. And we talked about gravity and how strong a force gravity is on our body. So the more time we spend in those poor postures, the more chance we give gravity to kind of push us forward. So many times what we do, and we can try this, we'll take a couple of minutes. What I want everyone to do is try to stand up. And if you have an area close where you could stand with your back against the wall. And so if you can, just take a minute, come out of your chair, find an area where you can maybe bring your tablet over, your phone, whatever you're listening with, so you can still hear me speak, but just see if you can stand against the wall and try to keep your shoulders and the back of your head and your butt and your feet against the wall, and see if that's easy or hard. So if we're able to be in this plumb line posture, our head lines up with our shoulders line up with our pelvis lines up with our knees. And that's, what we would consider to be really very perfect posture. And that might be difficult for many of you. So this is not an exercise that we have on the sheets we're going to send you, but once a day, standing against the wall and see, can you tuck your chin in? Can you keep your chest back and your shoulders back? Can you draw in your stomach to keep your back flat against the wall? Are really great things to try just to see if you can figure out what is good posture, what is that supposed to feel like versus maybe the posture that you're spending more time in, which in most cases it usually isn't good. So just a nice little easy way to try that, and you can use the wall for some feedback based on how that feels. So we'll give everyone another couple more seconds to try and feel that, and then you can go ahead and have a seat again, and we'll continue on with our next slide. So I know there's plenty of you that are on the call where you're either working from home or you're on your computer at home, and you can see the two pictures show someone, they're both using laptops, and they're both in just really horrible postures. And so down the bottom, the cartoon picture shows what a really good workstation should look like. So you can see the person is sitting with their back supported, their legs are supported, they're able to use their keyboard because their arms are supported on the armchair. They're able to keep their vision on the monitor, which is right at their eye level, and they're just in a really good supported position. Versus the two other pictures, look at how forward their heads are, their shoulders are rounded. Actually, the woman at the top, her arms are shrugging. The gentleman down the bottom, he's just really forward rounded shoulders. So those are just horrible positions. We cringe, as PTs, we cringe when we see people that look like that. And so these are some tools that we use in our office specifically to help with allowing people to change position. And they're these new kind of allow you to sit and work on your computer as well as allow you to stand. And it's two manufacturers that we recommend mostly. One is called VeriDesk. The other one is called FlexiSpot. And so there's a lever on either side of the device that allows either for it to be down close to the desk, or you lift the lever, pull up, and it allows someone to stand, still be able to use their computer, but just to be able to change their position. And so we encourage people to change their position all the time. Sometimes we have people that are working in office environments. They sit down at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the next thing you know, it's 12:30, and they go, oh, it's 12:30, I gotta go get some lunch, and they haven't moved all day. So that's a really bad habit to get ourselves into. We really want to try and work on changing our positions as much as we possibly can. We also recommend people just have standing desks. You can see that the young lady on the right side of the picture, she's got the monitor about 20 to 30 inches away from her face. It's at her eye level. Her keyboard is low enough where she can rest her hands on the keyboard and use it. And that's something you can see, it's on wheels. So she can maneuver that around her office or her home and be relatively mobile too as well. The nice thing is a lot of these devices are, they do cost money, but they're usually in the $250 to $350 range. So you can certainly spend a lot of money, but you can easily spend $250, $300 and have a really nice device available to you. So one last exercise that we'll talk about is what we call diaphragmatic breathing. And so many times we have people that come in and they're in a lot of pain, and they end up having quite a lot of issues related to muscle guarding and muscle tension. So what we encourage them to do is to try and relax their shoulders, relax their body just by laying on their back on the couch or on their bed or on the floor, and we ask them to just breathe. We ask them to try and focus on their breathing, so that way when they take breaths in and out, their bottom hand rises and falls. And so this is how we encourage people to use the diaphragm to help with breathing. So you'll see in the picture of the skeleton picture is a picture of the diaphragm. It looks like a parachute, and it sits in between the abdominal muscle area and the lungs. And so when we breathe, we think of our chest breathing out this way. And what we ask people to do is think of not to breathe out this way, but to breathe down more. So if we have one hand on the chest and one hand on the abdomen, when we breathe in, we're trying to get the abdomen to rise up. And when we breathe out, we're trying to get the abdomen to fall. So our hope is that the chest stays quiet while the abdomen rises and falls. And interestingly enough, 5 minutes or 2 to 5 minutes of some diaphragmatic breathing can be very, very helpful in allowing people to be a little bit more calm and a little bit more relaxed. And it's a great way for them to help with their own self-management of their pain. Sometimes when we get, as I mentioned, we get in a lot of pain, we get guarded, we get tight, we get tense, we protect. And so all that protection is just creating more stress and strain in the neck. And laying on your back and focusing on the breathing, it just allows that to, all that tension to reduce, which amazingly enough helps to also reduce some of the pain. So we see plenty of people in chronic pain in our office all the time. And, you know, it's important for people to understand that pain is normal. Almost everyone has some level of pain in their body. It's their body's response for bad things that are coming on. And so the people that deal with their pain better generally have less complaints than the people who don't deal with their pain as well. So if you're one of those persons that tend to get tight and stiff and protect, and you stay in that position for so long, that's leading to more tension in those muscles. And it's what I call the hot stove, you know, the issue is you walk into the kitchen and you don't know the stove is hot, you go to put your hand on the stove, your body will never allow you to keep your hand on a hot stove. Oh, that's hot. And so we get away from that hot thing, that problem. And the same thing is happening with the body. The body's trying to protect itself from the pain that's coming on. But if we guard and we get tense, we're doubling our pain. And so that's why we have people that come into our office and they complain of being stressed and having some anxiety, having some trouble managing their pain. One of the first things we do is we ask them to do some breathing. And it's amazing how a little bit of breathing every day can help center your focus, help take some tension off of your body, and end up having less pain in your neck from that. Many times we have people, I have this, the last line in the slide is tweaky things, and people kind of, what's the tweaky thing? And we have many times people come in the clinic and they say, you know, I was doing something the other day and I got this sharp pain that ran down my arm, and it was this really weird pain, and it lasted for like 10 seconds. Then it went away. And they'll go, what is that? And I'll say to them, you know what? I don't really know what it was. I bet you it was a tweaky thing. And they look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, what's a tweaky thing? And I say, well, it's very common for things to change through the body. Something could have compressed on something could have put stress on another area, and it caused that unusual sensation to come on. And so that unusual sensation that lasts for 10 seconds and goes away is what I call a tweaky thing. Because we don't really know why it happened, but it happened. And it's not to make light of the fact that it happened. It's just to not get so over-focused on what had happened, because honestly, it's really not that important. So we need to make sure that we're managing our pain as best we can, realizing that some pain is normal, but when we get into a lot of really heavy pain situations, we have to make sure that we're using our body correctly and not adding stress, and we're doing some things to take stress away. And that's what this chronic pain cycle is all about. You've probably heard that term before. And so, you know, people have pain issues. They end up having, they're not fun to be around. They don't enjoy themselves. They start to worry about things. And that worrying leads to some anxiety. The anxiety can lead to issues with their work performance, or maybe some general health issues. And we all know what feeling anxious feels like, right? It's a horrible sensation. So maybe all that anxiety leads to things like they're not sleeping well. They need to start taking medication. They may have some relationship issues with their spouse or significant other or their family. And now all of a sudden, this leads to more work issues and more doctor's visits and more financial issues. And they're not coping, they're not fixing the problem, and they're stuck in this chronic cycle of pain, anxiety, sleeping problems, and not coping. So I really love this, because I think we see so many people that fit into this category that come into our office all the time, And just by some basic training on breathing, posture, and some physical therapy work, we end up getting some really good successes in helping them better manage their own pain. What we're hoping for is at the end of their therapy, they decide that fitness is an important thing for them to stay healthy. Excuse me. So we're always stressing posture and flexibility. So we got to stretch. We've got to work on our posture, especially at work, and even more important at home. We need to be working our body aerobically by getting out and walking, or doing stairs, or walking on a treadmill, or swimming laps in a pool, or riding an exercise bike, or riding a regular bike out in the street. All of those things help to make our heart work a lot more efficiently, so that way it has some use to being stressed. And then the last thing is we've got to work on getting strong. So we always encourage some resistance training a couple of days a week, and we encourage using resistance and weights and exercise balls, things like that. So, so this is the part of the presentation where I say to people, what are you going to do about it? So right now you're on this call. I can only assume you're on the call because either you or a friend or a family member have neck pain or some neck issues. And, I look at there's pretty much three things we can do. And so far, we've all done the first one, which is ignore it. It's going to go away on its own. How many times have you gone to the doctor and said, "Doctor, my neck is really bothering me"? They go, "You know what, don't worry about it. It'll go away." Well, more often than not, it doesn't go away. It maybe waxes and wanes, it reduces, but more often than not, it comes back. Now, so we can try to do some things to try and work on maybe making some changes or altering it. But really, it all comes down to handling it. We've got to make a decision that we want to handle this. We don't want to be in pain. We've got to get rid of it. And I'll use this story. A friend of mine who owns a clinic in Pennsylvania uses this story a lot, and I think it's perfect because it really describes what we all deal with all the time. So he has an office that's in a strip mall. And so one day he was in his office and he looked up in the ceiling tiles. He was like, "Oh, geez, there's a stain on the ceiling tile. I wonder why that is. I haven't seen that before." And so he went out Home Depot and he just went and actually, first of all, he just was like, it's fine. It'll be fine. No big deal. And he ignored it. He didn't do anything with it. But then he had some patients saying, "Hey, do you notice you've got looks like you got a leak up there. I don't know what's going on." He was like, "All right, I'll have to do something." So he went to Home Depot and he bought some ceiling tiles. And so once a month, he noticed that it kept getting wet. He was like, "I got to do something else." So he decides to change, do something different. Well, you know what? I'm going to call my HVAC guy. So he calls the HVAC guy, and what does he say? "Oh, it's not my problem. It's the roof. You need your roofer." So he calls this roofer, and the roofer then says to him, "Oh, it's not my problem. It's your HVAC guy." And so now he's like, "What the heck do I do now? How many times have we been there trying to have some repairs done at our house, and one guy says one thing, one guy says another thing?" It happens all the time, right? So then he found someone else, and he was like, "You know what? Let me go up and I'll take a look." And so he went up and he realized that the problem was not coming from his side of the roof. It was coming from 3 suites down on the corner of the building. Water was getting in the corner of the building, but however, it was being diverted through the trusses in the ceiling and ending up and going into his roof through his ceiling tiles, creating the stain. The guy figured that out, went and patched the roof, and all of a sudden he hasn't had a leak forever. So it finally took this guy making the decision to handle it and getting the right people to be able to help him handle it to the point where he was able to get rid of the leaks in the roof. So, what we offer here is 2 things. The first thing is, we offer a free screen. Actually, I'm just looking at it, it says lower back, but it's really a neck screen. So this is perfect for the person who is like, they're really not sure if physical therapy is right for them, but they've decided they want to try something different. They want to change something. So this is a half-hour visit. You meet with one of my physical therapists. We do a very brief assessment and history, and we find out what's going on. And then we make some recommendations. Usually it's one of 3 things. 1, we teach you some more extensive exercises from what I've showed you today, and you continue with those at home. 2 is you try a short trial of some physical therapy, anywhere from 6 to 8 sessions. See, is this a good fit? Can us help you in the clinic, help your neck pain go away? Or sometimes we have it to the point where someone needs more medical attention. We think maybe you need an x-ray or an MRI exam or meet with a surgeon when it's really bad. And so usually it falls into one of those 3 categories. Either way, any one of the 3, what we do is we write up a report and we share that with your regular doctor because we want them to be informed of what we found. Now, the other thing that we do is we do a full physical therapy evaluation. This is a 60-minute visit. You meet again with one of my physical therapists, and it's a much more thorough and expanded visit. We take a very detailed history. We find out about your recreational and work activities. We find out about your general health activities. And then we work on putting together a program to work on helping you get rid of your pain, getting rid of your problems, and then helping you get back to the quality of life you need. More often than not, we're able to bill medical insurance. So if you have medical insurance, we can bill that. Sometimes there's a co-payment or a co-insurance. So there is some financial responsibility on your part. But what we find is that when we get people into a full program, generally they do much better. Again, the full program may only be 6 to 8 sessions. Sometimes that all it takes is for you to start seeing some improvements and feeling better. But the PT evaluation allows us to be able to do some treatment, which includes some massage and stretching and more work with our hands on your spine to get your spine to move better. And then it's a lot of retraining your posture and teaching you how to do some exercises to get you stronger through your neck, through your back, and to get those areas all more stable and less pain. This is the point of our presentation where we're happy to take some questions and answers. If you decide that you think you'd like to try some physical therapy, we're almost closed right now. But what we do is we're taking calls every day. Our office starts open at 7 a.m. and Monday through Thursday, we're here till 7 o'clock at night. Fridays it's 7 to 5. There's always someone here that can help you either book an appointment or answer some questions about your insurance if you have some questions about your insurance, or if you just wanted to book that free screen, we're actually also really able to help you take care of that too as well. So, so I think that is pretty much all I have to say. Here's just some information. There's our phone number, our website, and we're also on social media too if you want to follow us on social media. So just as a quick reminder, Allie will take some time tomorrow, send you an email that will have the presentation and the exercises we talked about today. And then she'll also just give you some more information if you want to call to schedule an appointment to see us. We'd love to have you in and help you get on the road to having less neck pain and doing the things you want to do. So thanks everyone for attending. Allie, is there anyone, I didn't look at the chat box, is there anyone that has any questions that we can maybe answer?
We just have a thank you for doing the presentation, and they said it was very helpful for them. So they'll call us tomorrow.
Excellent, good.
Other than that, nothing else.
Okay, all right, well, I want to thank everyone for coming. Thanks, Allie, for helping out with the workshop tonight, and I hope everyone has a great night. And oh, we have a couple more chats or?
They're thank yous.
Okay, good, awesome. Well, have a great night. Hope if I don't see any of you, you guys have a great holiday season coming up, and we'll talk soon. Have a great night.
Thank you, everyone. Where is...